Okay, so good morning. Welcome to Sunday Morning Yoga with Brandy. I'll be your tour guide today. For today's class, you're going to need the usual setup. If you do have more than one yoga mat, put it down. You want to take up lots of space and be present for today's class. And it is always nice to be able to transition from one mat to the other and not have to rearrange your whole setup. So if you do have more than one yoga mat, put them down. You'll also need a pair of matching yoga blocks, a couch cushion or pillow of some sort, some padding, and then a yoga belt. Always better to have the equipment and not use it than to need it and not have it. So get out your toys, have it available. You might not use everything, but have it nearby just in case. We're going to start down in child's pose. I'm going to turn sideways. You'll probably be more comfortable orienting to look towards your screen at all times, so you don't have to turn your head sideways and tweak your neck. So again, I'm going sideways so that you can see the profile view. And what I would like you to notice and see in this child's pose is that I've put some padding underneath my knees because the floor can be hard. I've got my big toes together. My knees are apart. There's a gap here between the thighs. Got the pillow blocks nearby. And I'm going to curl up into a ball. Now, if I just go into this mindlessly, I do like a face plant and my hips fly high into the sky. This is just what my body does if I'm not doing anything. This is child's pose, not stink butt pose, not stink bug pose. So in this child's pose, you want to be rounded with your hips back over your heels. So for me to do that, I have to push my hands into the ground to back that thing up and park it on top of my heels. It helps to push my hands into the floor to back those hips up, let my back round, and you'll notice my head is floating. This is where blocks are nice. You can rest your third eye, that spot between the eyebrows, on the edges of your bricks. So you can stack your bricks up to whatever height you need to. Rest that third eye on something. And then the whole situation can settle in a little bit more comfortably. So your head is supported, your head is touching something. It doesn't have to be the floor. And your hips are backing up over your heels. And this is where we will begin. So this is child's pose. The Sanskrit, mispronounced, is balasana, like a ball, rounded, curled up. And in this child's pose, you're presenting your back to the world. And you're turning your attention inward. Find your breath and begin to cultivate nice, deep, full breaths. And feel that breath penetrate into your back. And just observe how your back feels this morning. Notice if there's any areas in your back that feel a little bit tight, tense, or sore. And begin to massage those muscles with breath. For a well-balanced yoga class, it's all about moving the spine. So this morning, let's get acquainted with how your back feels, how that backbone is doing. We're going to begin by moving that spine side to side. So still with your hips parked back over your heels, you can move the blocks out of the way. Keep them handy though. And stretch your arms out in front of you. And again, I have to push my fingertips into the ground to keep my hips back on my heels. So I encourage you to do the same. Even though your arms are stretching forward, you're backing your hips up and you are up on your fingertips. Your hands make claws. And then walk both hands all the way over to one side. And breathe. Find that breath, feel that breath in your side body and your back body. And then walk both hands to center and over to the other side. And then walk both hands to center. Walk both hands up onto your lap. Go ahead, lift your head up and have a quick look. I'm going to drop down to the deck once again. Again, now that you can no longer see my heels, my hips are still parked over my heels. I want you to see what's happening next. In a moment, you'll be down here. And in a moment, I'll ask you to walk both hands to one side and then take the trailing hand. So both hands walked this way. This was the leading hand. It led the way. This was the one trailing. Take the trailing hand on top of the leading hand. You might even interlace your fingers a little bit. And then you're going to pull back with the trailing hand. And you'll get an intensified stretch. So please join me. Hips stay back on your heels. You're going to walk both hands over to your left, taking that right hand on top. You can clasp your hands together and then pull back. That trailing hand pulls back. And you breathe. After nice deep breaths here, you're going to come back to center and then walk both hands over to the other side. Again, that trailing hand jumps on top and you pull back with the trailing hand, breathing. And reset to center. Walk both hands up onto your lap. Turn your palms forward to shoulder shrug up, back, and down. Repeat, shoulder shrug. Inhale, up. Exhale, back, and down. One more time. Good shoulder shrug. Inhale, up. And exhale, back and down. And then clasp your hands together. Interlace your fingers. Let me turn around and show you the back side. So you've interlaced your fingers. And if your feet are sore, if your knees are tired, you can come up to a kneeling position. Interlace fingers, squeezing shoulder blades together. Try pulling your elbows away from your back, any amount at all. So the seated version would be down here, or you could be in the kneeling position, whatever works for you. Pulling those elbows away from your back, any amount at all. And the cue is to pull your elbows away because elbows are supposed to bend this way. They're not supposed to hyperextend the other way. So think about pulling the elbows back, and that might help prevent you from hyperextending or bending your elbows the wrong way as you do this chest expansion. And then release. Take those arms out in front of you, interlace your fingers, press your palms away and round your back. Pull that tummy in. And breathe. And sweep those arms back. Come up to kneeling if you're not already there. Interlace those fingers. Let your hips come forward as you pull your elbows backward. So it's a bit of a pelvic thrust. Hips coming forward. Elbows pulling backward. And then round. Interlace your fingers. Flip your palms away. Summertime here. Getting warm already. We're going to do a bit of a swimming type move. So as you inhale, take a nice deep breath. Let that chest expand. Hips come forward. And then like that butterfly stroke, you're going to sweep those arms forward and around, interlace those fingers around your back. I'm tucking my chin for this one. Inhale, swim forward. And if it works for you to let your chest come forward and let your head fall backward, you can go there. And exhale, butterfly. Sitting back, pressing those palms forward. And inhale, open. Or chest up, I should say. Head backward if that's comfortable. And back to that seated position, pressing palms forward. Hold the breath out. Lovely. With your next inhale, once again, come all the way up. And now this is where you might need the blocks for balance or as arm extenders. Again, padding underneath your knees, highly recommended. Padding underneath your knees does make it more comfortable on the knees. It also makes it a little less stable, which means it's a little bit more challenging for your abs. So something underneath your knees, especially if you're going to curl your toes under like I'm recommending. The knees get real bony real fast. Here's your arm extenders. If your heels aren't quite high enough for you to reach back and tap them, you'll be able to reach back and tap your blocks. So have those blocks nearby, just in case. Toes are curled under. I'm going to do this with the block out of the way so that you can see that I still got those toes curled under. Big inhale, arms come all the way up and overhead. And as you exhale, again, hands come behind your back, interlacing those fingers, thrusting those hips forward. Look forward for this one. I'm going to change it on you. Hips thrusting forward, starting to feel those quadriceps in the front of the thighs working. And then sit back. Toes are curled under, palms pressing forward. Inhale, come on up. Hips thrusting forward, looking forward so you don't fall over. And round. Pressing those palms. Now here's where I'm going to switch it up on you. Pick a hand, any hand, comes to the heel. One hand on the heel or the block, whatever works best for your balance. The free hand is going to inhale, sweep up. So it's a side bending back bend. Make it look good, smile. And come on down. Switching sides, find a heel or a block, whatever suits you. Big inhale, up and open. Side bending back bend. And come on down. It does help to have those pinky toes curled under. The second time around, you can really push down hard on that heel as you inhale, sweep up. The harder you push down on the heel, the more you can thrust your chest forward. And breathe. And come on down. Second side. I like to have my pinky toes curled under so they don't hurt so much. Big inhale, pushing down hard into that brick or down hard into your heel, whatever you're using. Help you stabilize, help you open up your heart a little bit more. And come on down. Untuck those toes, point those toes backward. Blocks are handy. My toes need to stretch the other way, so I'm going to pick up one knee. Oh, feel the stretch on the top side of the foot. Blocks are there for stability. And then shift, weight to the other side, pick up the other knee. Breathe. I went out dancing Friday night. My feet are sore today. And again, switch. Especially with summertime coming and you're sweating more. One of the first places you feel signs of dehydration is in the feet. And switch. Second time, heel up, stretch. Breathe. All right. Still sitting back over those heels. Inhale, bring those arms up. Pick a hand, any hand. One hand comes in front, one hand comes behind. You can reach down, find a heel. Go for a bit of a twist. Front hand comes diagonal across and breathe. And inhale up. Exhale, twist the other way. Front hand comes across, back hand finds the foot or heel, whatever you got down there, for a bit of a twist. And again, inhale up. Exhale, twist. And inhale up. And exhale, twist. Inhale, come all the way up to kneeling. And then over to hands and knees. Toes curl under. And I'm going to move my block out of the way so you can see my toes. Hands and knees. Stretch that right leg straight back behind you, still with the toes curled under, pressing back hard through the heel, feeling that calf muscle stretch. And reset. Let's do the other side, stretching that left leg straight back behind you, pressing hard through the heel, feeling that calf muscle stretch. Now in this side profile view, I want you to see that I'm keeping my front ribs and belly lifted up into my body. And then reset. Now I'm going to turn my back to you so we're all going the same way. From those hands and knees, all 10 toes curled under, patting underneath your knees. You're stretching that right leg straight back, keeping your front ribs and belly lifted, and then taking that right leg across midline, like there was a camera pointed up your backside. So take that right leg to the left across midline. Preserve your modesty. Pull that pelvic floor up into your body. Pull your front ribs and belly up into your body. You can take your hands a little bit wider. That works for you. And dump the pocket change out of that right hip pocket. You can pivot on the ball of this right foot. Let that right heel tip over to the right a little bit. The pinky toe blade edge of that right foot comes down to the floor. And you feel the outer right hip stretch. I've taken my hands wide to help me balance here. Feeling that lovely hip stretch. And reset. And let's do the same thing on the other side. So coming to neutral, you might inhale and exhale, round your back up into that cat pose. Make sure your front ribs and belly are engaged. Stretch the left leg straight back. And then take that left leg across midline, pulling in that pelvic floor, engaging your abs a little bit more. Hands can go wide as you tip the left hip pocket down to the floor. The pinky toe blade edge of that left foot comes down to the floor as well. Feeling that hip stretch. And reset. All right. Once again, I'm turning sideways so you can see what was happening here. Right leg stretches straight back. Now you're going to pick that right leg up, swing it out to the side. I'm showing you the flat of my foot to spy with my little eye over my right shoulder, my right foot. And I'm lifting it up as high as I can, pointing those toes forward. Now I'm going to take that leg across midline and touch the big toe out to the side, the pinky toe out to the side. Up and over and cross behind. Up and over, swinging it further forward, higher each and every time, and then crossing it over. Elbows unlocked. The wider apart your hands are, the easier this is to control. And then finally, you're going to take that leg, swing it all the way over, up as far as it will go, and then let it come on down to the ground. Pointing the left toes back. Sit back. Breathe. Now you're getting a bit of an inner thigh and hip stretch, inner thigh, groin stretch, hamstring stretch. And come forward. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So reset back to hands and knees. Make sure you clear the clutter out of the way. From hands and knees, round your back, pulling your front ribs, pulling your belly. Shoot that left leg straight back behind you. Get it nice and straight, pushing back through the heel. And then you're going to lift that left leg up, swing it out to the side. As high and as far forward as it will go. And then cross behind. Kind of touch that pinky toe down. Up and over. And cross behind. Elbows unlocked, hands going wide for balance. Try to keep those front ribs and belly lifted up into your body for this one. And the next time you bring that left leg forward, bring it as far forward as it will go. Let it drop down. Going to point those right toes backward and sit back. And then come on it. Let's go to a kneeling position. So padding underneath your knees. I'm going to mirror image you on this one. Padding underneath your knees. Right leg kicks out to the side. This time you're down on the heel. So turning the leg out, foot flex flat, shoulders up, back and down. You want your left shoulder over your left hip, over your left knee. Big inhale, arms come up and overhead. And as you exhale, release. Let's do that again. Great big inhale, come all the way up. And now you're going to tip on over towards the straight leg. The back of your hand comes onto the top of the leg, so palms are facing one another. Coming into a big side stretch. And come on up. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. I got to move my chicken. Chicken wants to be the star of the show today. Okay. So now you are kneeling on that right knee. Left leg comes over out to the side. You're going to rock back on the heel. Inhale, both arms come all the way up. Palms are facing one another. And exhale down. Again, big inhale, come all the way up. Palms still face one another as you tip on over. Back of the hand on the top of the leg. This is gate pose, Parigasana. And inhale, come all the way on up. Before we switch sides, I'm going to point those left toes backwards. Those are right toes backwards. And sit back again. We've got the toes pointed up. Now it's a slightly different feeling in the leg. Going for that lovely hamstring stretch. Come up onto your fingertips like we did at the beginning of class. And then walk both hands over towards your foot. Oh, feel that lovely back stretch and inner thigh stretch and side stretch. And walk both hands over to the other side. And reset. Gonna come on up. And let's switch sides. Kicking it on out. Rock back on the heel. Inhale, arms come up, palms facing one another. Coming over into that lovely side stretch. Coming on up. Pointing the left toes backwards, sitting back. A little bit of a balance challenge there on that transition. Good strong inner thigh hamstring stretch. I am up on fingertips, up on those claws. And just like we did at the top of the class, you're going to walk both hands to one side. And then both hands over to the other side. And reset. Let's come on up and switch. Just adding on each and every time a little bit more intense. Kick it out to the side, rocking back on the heel. Big inhale, arms come all the way up. Over into that side stretch. And if you need even more side stretch, take the bottom hand, push out with the bottom hand. Interlace your fingers, push out with the bottom hand for more side stretch. That is a bit of a balance challenge. That does require abs. It is easier to have the bottom hand down though. So you choose your own adventure. And then with an inhale, come all the way on up. Once again, back toes pointed, hinging forward. A little bit easier the second, the third time we do this. If you have a block handy, you might consider using those blocks. Walking both hands over towards the foot, and then you can use that block underneath your fingertips and tip the leading edge of the block away for even more stretch. It is easier to control with your hands on the ground, less intense with your hands on the ground. A little bit more challenging, a little bit more intense with that block. I still have my foot flexed though. I want you to see that. And then reset all the way over to the other side. And then check this out. The leading hand, that's the one that led the way as I did this side stretch. The leading hand is staying down. The trailing hand is going to sweep up and over, and I'm going to pivot on to the inside, or even to the big toe here, as I sweep open, do a big side stretch. Thrusting those hips forward, opening your heart, maybe letting your head fall backward if that's comfortable for you. And come on down. Let's do the other side. So I told you, you needed lots of clear space. You're taking up space today. Let's switch sides. Kicking that right leg out to the side on the heel. Inhale, arms come all the way up. Palms facing one another as you come into that side stretch. Again, more accessible, easier to balance, easier to control with the bottom hand on the leg. A little bit more challenging if you take that bottom hand, join the top hand and bottom hand together. Push that bottom hand out to intensify the side stretch. You want to be able to breathe in whatever variation you've chosen this morning. And then come all the way on up. Again, my back toes are pointed. I know you can't see them on me, but they are pointed. If I push those toes down, if I push the top of the foot down, it does help me control things as I lean forward, stretching on out. Easier with fingertips, a little bit more challenging with a block. You can walk hands over towards the foot. Tip the leading edge of the block away for even more stretch. And keep breathing. And walk both hands over to the other side. So the leading hand, the one that led the way, that one's going to stay down on the ground. I'm going to go for a side stretch here for a moment. And then leaving that leading hand on the ground, sweep the trailing arm up and around. I am pivoting onto the big toe. of the straight leg. Thrusting those hips forward, side bend, back bend. Breathe. And come on down. Not done with kneeling yet. We're going to come back to kneeling. I'm going to do one more here on each side. I'm going to go what I call flying camel, or some people call it like half around the moon, halfway around the moon. So kneeling, shoulders up, back and down, kicking that left leg out to the side. So I'm going to lean over to the side, put the right hand down, kick that left leg out to the side. Same sort of action you had here before, swinging it forward, putting the big toe side of the foot, arch side of the foot down on the ground. Now the hand on the ground, you'll see I'm up on fingertips. I'm going to dial the hand so that I'm spinning the pinky finger as far back and around as I can. I'm shrugging that shoulder onto my back. I'm showing you the pale skin of my inner arm. Inhale to hike that top arm up, overhead alongside your ear. Balancing. I am pushing the top of my foot down for balance sake. Now let's take this top hand, wipe a table, smack that table out in front of you, shrug that shoulder onto your back. So smack the table and drag it towards you, shrug that top shoulder onto your back. Continue to wipe the table off the side of your hip, and here's where the balance challenge is. You're gonna reach back and without looking, try to find your big toe. And breathe. So in figure skating, you would do this wearing ice skates and on one foot, circling around the rink, called a flying camel in figure skating. And then release. And come on down. Let's do that on the other side. So this is my yoga version of flying camel. So coming to that kneeling position, shoulders up, back, and down. We're going to tip on over to the left. Left hand comes down. Right leg kicks out. Arch side of the foot down. Find that hand on the ground and dial it in the direction of the pinky finger. Show me the pale skin of your inner arm. Palm can come down flat if your wrist stretches that way, or you can do this on fingertips, whatever works best for your wrist. Coming on up to balance. Going for that side stretch. Elbows unlocked. I'm going to smack that table. Shrug the top shoulder onto your back. Don't look back, just keep looking forward. Wipe the table off the side of your hip and find your big toe. And breathe. All that sitting back over your heels at the beginning of class was to help your knees bend deep enough for you to reach back and catch the tiger by its toe. So holding onto that foot if you can, breathe and balance. Chin is tucked, front ribs and belly are pulled in as well. Heart is open. And release. We're going to further refine this in a moment, but for now, let's come to hands and knees. And exhale, round your back. Inhale, head up, tail up, sway back, cow. And again, exhale, round. Inhale, head up, tail up. And one more time, exhale, round for that cat pose. Toes curl under, hands and knees, hands and feet and knees all on the same yoga mat. And then lift those knees up, back it up into a downward facing dog. Move the pillow out of the way. So it's just you and a naked yoga mat. And you do want both hands, both feet on the same yoga mat, because it will slip if you only have your hands on it or you only have your feet on it. Take your feet as wide apart as the mat and jog your dog. Pedal your feet. Bend one knee, then the other. Really work it out. Feel the stretch in the calves and the backs of the legs. Dancing and prancing, letting your hips swish and sway side to side. You're going to go dancing this morning. Do a little cha-cha. Some Cuban hip action here. Rolling from side to side. And then rising up onto tippy toes, bend those knees down to the floor. Point those toes backwards, sit back once again for that child's pose. And gather up your toys. Padding for your knees. Blocks for your hands. I'm going to turn this into a lunge. So I'm leaving my left knee on the padding, taking that right foot forward, coming into a basic low lunge. Notice I've got my back toes pointed. Basic lunge, hands on blocks. Nothing overly fancy here. I do want you to see that I'm inching the front foot forward so the toes are sticking out further than any other point on my body. And there's a long stride between my feet. I got the front foot at the front edge and the back foot at the back edge. I'm using up the whole yoga mat here. And then back it up, shuffle switch. Stretch, long lunge. And back it up. Shuffle switch. Can you switch without using your hands? Hip mobility. You got flexibility, but do you have mobility? Can you move it around without using your hands? So right foot is forward. I know I'm going sideways, but I've got a reason for it. I want you to see that I've got this long stride and I got some padding underneath this back knee. I'm going to take those back toes, curl them under. Definitely recommend padding. Front foot sticking out further than any other point on the body. And then I'm going to back it up. Front leg's not straight, still slightly bent. I'm just coming out of the lunge a little bit. This puts a lot of pressure on the knee. You definitely need padding underneath that knee. Notice I'm still holding onto my block. I'm parking the block back here by my heel. Uh-oh. Some of you might be able to reach down and touch your heel or use your block. You got a free hand to sweep up and around into a lovely side stretch. Now, hand stays on the block or hand stays on the heel. Can you lunge forward? Any amount at all. Breathe. And come on down. Woo. Let's shuffle switch. Without hands, perhaps. So measure out the basic lunge. You want that length and a little bit of width. So if you wiggle that front foot a little wider to the side, it is easier to control. So opposite diagonal, front and back corners of the mat. Rocking back. I'm going to curl those back toes under. Park the block next to the heel, or maybe hold on to the heel. Whatever you got down there, hold on to it. Free hand sweeps up and around. Side bending, back bend. And then I dare you, I challenge you to lunge forward any amount at all. Leaving that bottom hand on the block, leaving the bottom hand on the block or foot, whatever you have there. And come on out. Shuffle switch, we're going to do it again. If you haven't noticed the theme already, it's back bending, side bends, camel variations. Measure out the basic lunge. A little bit of width side to side will help you with balance a lot. Turning that front foot out to the side a little bit, toes in the direction of the pinky toe, will help with balance a little bit more. Shifting back, using the block or finding the heel. If you find the heel, you can push down hard. If you have a good sturdy block, you can push down hard. That will help you to balance, push down hard, pull in that tummy, side bend, back bend, and then let your heart glide forward. Lunge forward, any amount at all. Really pushing into that bottom foot, pushing into the block with your hand will help you. And come on up. Let's switch. Shuffle, switch, measure it out. Take your time. It's a big move. Back it up. Back toes curl under. Plenty of padding underneath the knee. Hand on the block or hand on the heel. I like hand on the heel because I push hard here. But I know that doesn't work for everybody's feet. Side stretching back bend. Hips driving forward. Any amount at all. And then come on up. Back toes point. Sitting back. Dragging that front heel. It's going to drag back a little bit as you sit back. You can take that front leg, bring it in towards midline. I just reached down and pulled it on over. So this is what it looks like from the side view. I got my toes pointed, got some padding on the knees, and I'm bringing my chest forward out towards that foot. And come on up. Let's switch. Big knee bends today. So basic lunge. This is where we're starting. Toes pointed, just sitting back, letting that front heel drag back a little bit, as much as it needs to, but not more than it has to. And you can bring that leg in narrow towards midline. Advancing your chest. I'm not collapsing. I'm pulling my chest forward. And then come on up. Very nice. Downward facing dog. Walking hands and feet towards one another. Picking up your belt along the way. Let's come all the way on up to standing. I'm going to do a dancer pose. But first, we're going to stretch the shoulders. So belt goes over your shoulders. Have it there just in case. Palms are forward. Take a good shoulder shrug up. Back and down. Keep those palms shining forward. Repeat. Great big shoulder shrug. Inhale up. Back and down. I'm going to turn my back to you so we're all going the same direction. I'm going to take that right leg, cross it behind. Try not to stumble over your toys. Right leg cross behind. Right arm comes up. Over into a side stretch. Top elbow bends. And you can reach down and find that belt. Top elbow bends. Bottom hand, palm facing behind you, sweeps up from below to hold onto the belt. Or touch fingertips together. The more you side bend, the more likely you are to bring your fingertips together. Also helps to use that belt. Get a good grip on that belt. So make a connection. And then you can uncross the legs and just stand up and breathe. You're going to push your head back into that top arm, pull in your front ribs belly, knees are unlocked. You're looking straight forward. And release. Have that belt ready to go for the other side just in case. Left leg crosses behind. Left arm shoots up. You come over into a side stretch. Top elbow bends, reaching down to find that belt. Bottom hand sweeps up from below. Palm is facing outward. Holding onto the belt or working your fingertips together. Make a good connection. The more you lean to the side, the easier it is to bring your hands together. Once you get to wherever you're going with that, you can uncross the legs and stand up. Again, you're pulling in your front ribs, pulling in your belly, you're looking straight forward. And you're breathing. And then release. Palms are forward, shoulders shrug up, back and down. We've done a lot of balancing so far, but just to make sure that you have all the tools you need to balance effectively, you're going to shift your weight over onto that left foot. You're going to drop the belt. Don't need it anymore. Big inhale, bring both arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly like you're getting tickled in this position. Your reaction to being tickled would be to contract, pull in those front ribs, pull in your abs, and then drive that knee up. Guard against being tickled. Drive that knee up, give it a good hug, pull it in tight to your chest. It is flexed. The more you tuck your tail under, you can drive that knee up higher. Standing knee is unlocked. And you're breathing. Run your hand down the shin to the ankle. Bring that heel to your butt. Hey, we've been here before, kind of. Free hand lifts into the air. Hips forward, chest open. Good grip on that ankle. And then release. So things you need for balance. Soft standing knee, unlocked. Strong abs, steady gaze, looking at something that's not moving. So you might not want to look at me now that you know what you're doing for the other side. Try not to look at somebody who's moving all over the place. Shoulders up, back, and down, shifting your weight over onto that right foot. Arms come up, get vulnerable, get ready to get tickled, and then exhale, react to being tickled, drive that knee up tight into your chest. Lifting the knee up is all about engaging your abs, pulling in that tummy, getting skinny so there's room to bring that knee up higher. Hips thrusting forward, lower back long, foot flexed. And then running your hand down the shin. At this point, you can start to point the toes if you want to. Bring that heel to the butt. Free arm lifts up. Breathing. Standing knee soft, belly pulled in tight. And release. We're going to repeat. I'm going sideways for a reason. I always am doing things for a reason. Shoulders up, back, and down. Shifting your weight over onto that left foot. Arms come on up. As you exhale, drive that right knee into your chest. I start with the foot flexed. Pelvic thrust, those hips forward, pull that tummy in tight, shoulders are down, gazing forward at something that's not moving. Running hand down the front of the shin. I'm letting the toes point now as I bring my heel to my butt. Now I want you to see what I'm doing here. I'm going to work that hand around to the inside arch side of the foot. So thumb print and big toe come together. Thumb print and toe print come together. I'm holding onto the inside arch side of the foot. Front ribs and belly are pulled in. Free hand can rise into the air. Standing knee is soft. If you want to, and you've warmed up for it, you have the option to kick back for dancer pose. And release. Second verse, same as the first. Shoulder shrug up, back, and down. Standing now on that right foot. Both arms come up. As you exhale, drive that left knee up into your chest. Hips thrust forward, belly pulls backward. Get that knee up nice and high. Belly pulled in nice and tight. Keep it pulled in nice and tight for the duration. Belly is engaged. I start with the foot flexed. And running the hand down the shin, find that ankle. Pointing the toes, sweeping that leg back. Letting the hand migrate to the inside arch side of the foot. Balancing. And kicking back any amount at all. And release. Grand finale, big inhale. Bend your knees as you take a bow. Hands find blocks. Feet separate as wide apart as the mat. Hands on blocks. Let your knees bend one, then the other. Let your hips swish and sway side to side. Hands are on something in case your lower back needs a little support. In case you weren't using your abs, definitely use your hands on blocks to support that lower back. Giving a good stretch, shifting your weight side to side, bending one knee, then the other, letting your butt wiggle, waggle, side to side. I'm turning my toes out even more. So my toes are pointing off the sides of the mat. I still got those blocks there. I'm going to shift weight back into my heels. So pushing those blocks forward, back in my hips up, come into a squat. Blocks are there to help take some of the load off. You can put those blocks underneath your sit bones if necessary. Toes and knees pointing out to the side. And bring your hands together and elbows push knees wide, knees squeeze tight against elbows. If you can do this freestyle with no blocks, go ahead, you can remove them. Have a nice deep squat. Squatting is wonderful for releasing your lower back. The other thing that helps release your lower back are ab exercises. So we're going to do everybody's favorite ab exercise. I'm going sideways. So you don't have the whole crotch shot the whole time. I'm going sideways for you. So you're going to drop down onto your butt towards the front edge of your mat. Clear the clutter. You don't want to accidentally roll over anything. Starting in a, I guess you're sitting down here. Fingertips tucked behind your knees. Shoulders shrug down your back. Pulling your chest forward, pulling those shoulder blades down, elbows in narrow. Coming up onto tippy toes. We're going for boat pose. Tippy toes. Bring your big toes together and you can begin to lift your legs up. What is that? Feet are level with your knees. And breathe. If you cross one big toe on top of the other and then begin to push out, you can bring your legs super straight. With one big toe cross on top of the other, you can bring your legs super straight. So toes in, heels out. I'm still holding on behind my knees. And then reset and come on down. Butterfly, bottom of the feet together. Find your belly. As you exhale, pull that belly in, close your legs, shrug your shoulders down your back with a good inhale. Exhale, keep that tummy strong, come up onto tippy toes. Bring your feet up level with your knees and then cross the other big toe on top. Again, the trick to getting your legs straight is to cross your big toes and begin to straighten the legs. One big toe crossed on top of the other. Heels are apart, toes are together. And come on down, butterfly, rounding over. Wait for this airplane to go overhead and then we'll do one more time. Exhale, pull that tummy in, close your legs, shrug your shoulders down onto your back. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, tummy nice and strong, balancing, lifting up, crossing one big toe on top of the other, kicking those legs out, maybe releasing your hands. And then come on down, all the way down onto your back. You want to put a pillow underneath your head. It's always nice. Knees bent, feet flat. Take your feet as wide apart as the mat. One foot on either side of the mat. Let those knees tick-tock side to side like windshield wipers. So letting those knees tick-tock side to side like windshield wipers. With both knees traveling together. They're apart, but it's both of them at the same time, I should say, traveling at the same time. It's more of a lower body twist. turn this into an ab thing, just in case your lower back is still talking to you and the lower body twist isn't enough. Turn this into a bit of an ab thing to further release that lower back. You move one knee at a time. So to make sense out of this, let both knees fall over to the right. The left leg is the one farthest away from the floor. You're going to lift that left knee up first and the right leg up second. Left knee falls over, right leg falls over. Now this right butt cheek is floating. You're going to hike this right hip up towards your right shoulder. Lift the right knee up as far as it will go. Lift the left knee up. Drop the right knee over. Drop the left knee over. Hike the left hip up. Left knee, right knee, left knee, right knee. Hike the right hip up. Right, left, right, left, left hip hikes. Left, right, left, right. Hike the hip. One knee, then the other. One knee, then the other. You'll find it's almost like you're creeping up the mat. Engages a bit of abs to do this. And you get a little bit more movement in the hips. A little bit of ab engagement. Just changes the sensation you get. You can kind of feel the bones in your lower back, bones in your pelvis move around a little bit more. And then eventually find yourself in that butterfly pose, bottom of the feet together, because your legs just want to fall into this butterfly pose after a while. Bottoms of the feet together, knees wide. To continue prying open that lower back, you can take your hands like lobster claws at the tops of your thighs, push one thigh bone, and then push the other, and get those hips to jog. I'm pushing one hand, then the other, jogging those hips around. Pulling in your tummy, getting skinny as you do this. Feel that deep lower back massage. So pull in that tummy, pull in that pelvic floor as you jostle those hips. Hands wrap around to the outside of your legs. You're going to close legs. Knees bent, feet flat. Cross the left leg over the right. Get your right foot on the floor there. And let your knees tick-tock side to side with your legs crossed. Much more intense twist here. Again, lower body twist. Prying open that lower back just in case you need that. Engaging your abs always makes this more interesting. So think about having to pee. Squeeze your inner thighs together, pull in that pelvic floor, get skinny, tuck in your front ribs, hollow out your tummy. Let your knees be very heavy. And then to reset, and you get to do the same thing on the other side. Right leg crossed over. Must be a nice day for flying. The airplanes today passing overhead. And then eventually coming into whatever variation on Shavasana you desire. and breathing.